underperform. They do better in the Opens, they do better in the Grand Prix. Part of what gives them so much strength is there's so many different ways you can build a Mardu deck. You can go a lot of different directions. You can play bigger creatures, more tokens, you can play more planeswalkers, more burn, more removal, the discard, read the bones even. There's so many different ways you can go with it, and keeping people off guard, off balance, has been a big part of why Mardu has performed well.
And we are underway here in game number 1 between VanMeter and Braverman. A Temple of Malady is where Chris will start. A Temple of Silence is where Phillip will begin. He'll take a look at the top card. And with those Grand Prix New Jersey sleeves, where he did make the elimination rounds, he'll put that top card to the bottom and pass the turn back over to VanMeter. VanMeter going to draw a copy of Caves of Koilos. And the interesting decision again from Chris's deck is Chris thinks there's going to be a lot of whip decks here apparently this weekend with the 3 main deck copies of Reclamation Sage.
That's so aggressive. Love it. And then having access to sweepers in the sideboard, a lot of the Abzan whip decks don't always have end hostilities. He is definitely planning on winning the end hostility mirror, the whip mirror matches.
And he's got 2 end hostilities in his board, a Glare of Heresy as well. Some interesting cards that we don't oftentimes see in this deck, Chris has access to.
It's worth noting that Phillip's Mardu deck has access to 4 Crackling Dooms, which obviously is standard fare for Mardu, but it is an answer to Sylvan Caryatid, which may be part of what Chris is really counting on here. The ability for the Mardu players to answer basically any threat they want to can be pretty big when they draw the right cards at the right time. You know, not as much card advantage. You know, no Read the Bones, no Abzan Charms in this particular build, but an awful lot of just powerful cards, powerful threats. So I think that this is going to be a good one. I think sideboard is going to be where it gets really interesting. The 4 erases in Braverman's sideboard is going to be a big X factor.
There's a lot of those. Here's a Courser of Crewfix. Llanowar Waste going to come into play. Trigger. Again, a little life. Top card's a copy of Temple of Malady. And it's a Thoughtseize now as well. So VanMeter will take 3 to play that. Get a little look here at Braverman's hand. We've got an Arc Lightning, a Doomwake Giant, Hordling Outburst, Goblin Rattlemaster, and a Stoke the Flame. So some cards that we're used to seeing in this deck and some cards that we are certainly not.
Yeah, that Doomwake Giant could be potentially more annoying than it looks on the surface, because by the time VanMeter gets to Hornet Queen, Braverman's got the natural answer. Just such a fantastic trump to the Hornet Queen plan.
And I think that's part of the reason we see this in his main deck this weekend. And we're going to see a lot of that card this weekend. You talked about the sideboards. Braverman's got 2 main deck Doomwakes and then 2 more on the board. So he's putting a huge emphasis on that card being very, very important this weekend, given the amount of Hornet Queens that we've seen lately in the format.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he doesn't even have very many ways to trigger it a second time. Things like he's got Chained to the Rocks, and that's about it. But he figures, I just give it to me 1 time, and I'm happy. And honestly, I can't blame him. That's kind of a sweet idea. I love seeing technology like this where we're several months deep into the format and people are still coming up with new tricks.
This standard format's so good.
Oh yeah, one of the all-time greats.
So Thoughtseize is done resolving. There goes Goblin Rabblemaster. Braverman's going to draw a card.
Yeah, important to note that the VanMeter did not take the Stoke the Flames, so he knows his Courser's days may be numbered, but he just doesn't want to fall behind a potential Goblin Rabblemaster situation.
Due to the inability for Braverman to actually cast Hordling Outburst, he left that in the grip, but Braverman did peel off a Nomad Outpost, so that's his second source of red mana, and now VanMeter reveal a Doomwake Giant, so he's got the answer to the Goblin tokens.
So many Doomwake Giants. I also love the Doomwake Giant can block a Siege Rhino and live to tell.
Yep.
Live to tell the tale.
VanMeter going to play a Sandstep Citadel, trigger the Courser, gain a life. He's up to 19. Here's an attack for 2. Braverman's going to go down to 18. We'll see if Chris has a follow play that he's happy with here. Don't see a Rhino in the grip just yet. You see a couple of lands over there, and there's a Reclamation Stage, and all I can do is just simply pass the turn back. So a pretty unexciting turn, all things considered here for VanMeter.
An interesting ability of Reclamation Sage in this matchup is to Necrotol the Doomwake Giant. He already knows that there's a Doomwake Giant coming someday. He's going to save that Reclamation Sage as a follow-up. Additionally, depending on which way the game breaks, it's also possible that he just breaks somebody's chains to the rocks.
We're in the draw step, it looks like. Maybe Braverman's going to fire off that Stoke the Flames in the draw step to kill the Courser of Crewfix. Looks like he will. So he gets the information on what the top card's going to be, which is a Courser of Crewfix. That'll get turned down now that Courser's no longer in play, but that'll be VanMeter's draw next turn, as he picked up a copy of Doomwake Giant this turn.
So VanMeter debating if it's safe to just run the Doomwake Giant out there. He needs to, keep things going. He's got an advantage right now. He knows Braverman's hand is a little bit awkward. How can he press this advantage?
You know, the one thing that we know about Mardu decks, and you talked about this right at the top, is there are so many different ways that you can build them. We've seen a lot of builds that are very, very removal heavy. You know, Braverman hasn't really shown that, you know, he could be maybe a Planeswalker version of this deck with Elspeth and Hostilities. You know, there's so many different ways that you can go about building Mardu mid-range. You could just be kind of more tempo-oriented with Butcher of the Horde, you know, Hordling Outburst and Raise the Alarm and Seeker of the Way. You know, he's somewhere in between, as VanMeter's going to play his Doomwake Giant and just simply pass the turn back. Braverman going to draw a card.
Interesting.
Another copy of Doomwake.
But he doesn't have mana for the Doomwake Giant yet, so he's going to start the party off with just a Butcher of the Horde. Now, interestingly, Butcher of the Horde, not at its best against Doomwake Giant. It's just an awkward set of stats to try to fight a Doomwake Giant with.
Of course, there's Prefix to draw here for VanMeter.
It does make the Hordling Outburst in Braverman's hand a lot more threatening, though. The ability to do things like gain flying to fly over the Doomwake Giant or lifelink to help race could be big.
VanMeter with a copy of Satyr Wayfinder in hand. We know about the Courser, of course. There's the Reclamation Sage, too. So there's a Temple to start things off. Take a look at the top card.
Now, that's a pretty loud signal. He's not planning on playing the Courser.
Yep. Looks like he's got something else to do. He's going to start here by attacking for 4. He's slow and steady. I don't know if he's going to deploy anything this turn. No, he's not. He's just going to pass the turn back. The draw here for Braverman is a Nomad Outpost. So that's land number 5. Unfortunately for him, it comes into play tap.
So Braverman knows VanMeter has a Courser, knows he didn't play it. That's going to suggest that VanMeter's got a removal spell.
Butcher will fly across here for 5 points of damage.
Now, it's interesting if he actually talked Braverman out of using any sack effects for fear of a removal spell. VanMeter may have bought himself some extra life.
Braverman just going to pass the turn back. So these players kind of jockeying for position at this point. I think the draw was a Siege Rhino. Absolutely.
Siege Rhino, a big, big draw here.
Always a big, big draw. That thing is furious. See how VanMeter wants to move forward now.
He's got enough mana to be able to play Courser and Rhino in the same turn. Question is he willing to risk it?
He's going to start by attacking for 4. That looks to be the easy part. And he's just going to go with the Rhino.
Interesting. Not playing the Courser again. He didn't shuffle away the Courser,
Nope,
right?
it's there.
Interesting. So now is he going to play Satyr Wayfinder instead? Doesn't seem like he wants to because he doesn't want to walk into the Doomwake Giant. But maybe he's trying to lure Braverman into playing the Doomwake Giant?
Yeah, I think now he might be content with it because now, you know, he plays the Wayfinder. There's a target for the Doomwake Giant. We know he's got the Reclamation Sage in hand.
Yep.
So he says, yeah, you can have this. And, you know, Chris will find a land off of this. That'll be a copy of Sandstep Citadel. That'll come into play. And Chris will pass a turn back. So it looks like he's definitely trying to lure him into something here.
Yeah, I mean, playing the Doomwake Giant here ensures Braverman falls next turn if he attacks with the Butcher.
Yep.
There's a good chance he stays home with the Butcher anyway, though. The Siege Rhino could be potentially blocked.
Braverman with 2 Doomwake Giants in hand. It also has a Stoke the Flames, a Hordling Outburst, and an Arc Lightning. As he's going to think about what he should do this turn because he is behind on the board here.
VanMeter holding his hand, trying to walk him into that Doomwake Giant play. And Braverman knows it. He's like, what? Do I have another way? Do I have another potential winning line?
It's an interesting line that VanMeter has chosen to take this game. You know, by not playing the Courser, I mean, I get it. That, you know, he basically just says, you know, your Hordling Outburst is countered. You know, that's the thought process here. As now Braverman's going to finally play the Hordling Outburst and get 3 Goblin tokens. So I understand why he's holding it back. The question is, you know, is it better to hold it back to get a Doomwake Giant trigger, or just to try to start generating that small advantage that Courser does over the course of turns?
Braverman sacking token to gain flying first. Is lifelink? No,
yeah,
is it just lifelink?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be lifelink.
He was willing to offer the trade, and VanMeter wasn't even interested.
Butcher flies on its own. Lifelink, vigilance, and haste.
So what do you think about the possibility of sacking a token to gain vigilance there?
I actually think I would want to because you know he has Courser.
Yeah.
You saw that earlier from the other Courser, so you know that this can't come as a surprise. Assuming that Braverman, you know, has remembered that this is happening, this doesn't come as much of a surprise. That said, the way that Braverman's kind of set up right now, he actually can cast Stoke the Flames. So, but then again, you know, he'd have one less token, but his Butcher would be untapped. So he'd be like kind of in like a weird squeeze. Yeah, he can still soak the flames.
Yep.
There's not a lot to stoke here, right?
Stoke the Courser.
He's just gonna go upstairs.
Upstairs, he's gonna try to race.
4, 8. I guess he doesn't die because he gained the 5 life the last turn. I just don't know if this gets him where I don't know if this gets him where he wants to go. You know, he's going upstairs with the Stoke the Flames because he doesn't really have much of a target outside of the Courser at this point. But was there anything else he could have maybe done in the previous handful of turns to get him in a better spot? Because he seems like he's just in a mediocre to bad spot right now. But VanMeter is at 8.
This attack is going to put Braverman at 3. The tough thing is that, I mean, I guess Doomwake Giant technically beats the board, but that Reclamation Sage is going to end up proving deadly.
I don't know, this is actually interesting, right? I guess, you know, did the math actually pretty poorly here on my end. VanMeter's going to go down to 7, up to 8, but 5 damage in the air puts him to 3, and Braverman has an Arc Lightning in his hand. So, and Chris, I guess, needs to find a land because he hasn't played a land yet this turn. Now that will put him up to, if he finds land, he goes up to 9, and he doesn't die to that combination of cards.
The problem is, yeah, I guess if he doesn't have another answer.
Yeah, because Butcher's a
5
flyer.
alone.
Yep.
Yeah, 5 alone is enough so that this Arc Lightning wins. What?
That's Sylvan Carry added. Okay, there's a land. Never mind. So he's safe. So he's going to go up to 9. And I imagine he's going to attack with all his creatures. Yeah, the ones that are at least that are eligible. So attack here for 4, 8, 9 points of damage. Braverman's going to go down to 3. Now the question is, does Braverman have a draw, which would be Stoke the Flames? That would be a draw to get him out of this.
Stoke the Flames would win it. Is there anything else that can get the extra damage in there? Does Sorin buy him enough time?
Gain, you'll gain 6, you'll go up to 9, but now you're going to die in the
Another
counterattack.
Hordeling Outbursts. I mean, it's a tough way to do it, but another Hordeling Outburst.
Draw a card. This is a Sorin.
Interesting. So Sorin would let him gain 6 and go to 9, but I don't think that's enough.
Yeah, 11 on the counter back.
Doomwake Giant could come down, kill a Satyr Wayfinder, sack to the Butcher to gain lifelink. At least that would put him at 8, but I still don't think that's enough.
Nope. Take 10 on the swing back that way. If he holds back on defense with both creatures, does that do anything, I guess is the question?
It beats the board.
Okay.
But it loses to Reclamation Sage. Because now he's potentially blocking the Siege Rhino and the Doomwake Giant. The problem, of course, being that a Reclamation Sage will remove Doomwake Giant as a blocker.
With a Veribos to the top card. There's Reclamation Sage. So if you sacrifice that to the Butcher, you give the Butcher a lifelink.
All right. At least he beats the board. He can trade with the Rhino.
Goes up to 7, takes 6, goes down to 1.
The problem is this isn't a winning line.
Yep.
I mean, what are you hoping to draw next turn? Hordeling Outburst to try to block and get ahead a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know if that gets you anywhere.
It gives you 2 chump blockers for the Courser and the Doomwake Giant, plus trades with the Reclamation Sage. That is the minimalist of values.
Yeah, and taking a look at the top card actually at VanMeter's deck, the problem with that is the whip is on top of his deck, so then the whip will come in, it'll trigger the Doomwake, that'll kill the tokens, and that'll be it. So I think Braverman's going to get one more draw step here in just a second. He'll gain a little bit of life, go back down to 1, and I think we'll be headed to game number 2 here in just a sec. As
he doesn't have access to like end hostilities or anything, right?
Not in his main deck. He'll draw a card, it's a mountain. He's going to look at this Sorin, that Arc Lightning. He's going to pick up his 5 lands and concede the game.
What a battle.
It was definitely a battle, but Chris VanMeter comes out victorious in game number 1 here over Phillip Braverman. Abzan Reanimator up a game here over Mardu Midrange. As we take a look at the sideboards, we will start with Braverman's very streamlined sideboard for a Mardu deck. He's got 4 Thoughtseizes, 4 Erase, 2 Magma Jets, 3 Arc Lightnings, 2 Doomwake Giants. What do you like and why?
So the single biggest thing is access to Erase. Erase has the ability to fight the Whip of Erebos, the Doomwake Giant, and even the Courser of Crufix. That's going to be the single most important weapon. Beyond that, it's just a question of a little bit of tuning. Is Thoughtseize the right way to fight this matchup? I'm not sure. It's not bad. I think that it'll end up being better than some of the cheap removal. So I think that those are the main things that he's gonna be looking at.
Other side of things here for VanMeter, we've got some singletons here in Reclamation Sage with a Veribos, an Utter End, a Soul of Innistrad, a Thought Sees a Hero's Downfall, and a Glare of Heresy. Throw in 3 Drowning Sorrows, 3 Read the Bones, and 2 End Hostilities, and that's what Chris has access to, and that's what he's looking at right now for game number 2. What do we like there?
So I love this sideboard for this matchup. Having access to more removal, things like Utter End or Hero's Downfall or Glare of Heresy. Glare of Heresy in particular, it's nice to be able to do things on the cheap, going after the Butcher of the Horde or a Chain to the Rocks. But he has Read the Bones, so that he actually can play a little bit more of a controlling game. So I like him boarding in some of the removal spells and the Read the Bones, because even though Braverman has access to a lot of burn, I think that the post-sideboard games are going to be very attrition-y.
Much like that first game. Definitely an attrition-y element in that game. So we'll see how players do elect to sideboard here as we do get ready for game number 2. But while we wait, we will talk about, is the return appropriate? Is that the best way to say it for next level matches?
Zach?
Yes. Here it is, the new 2015 edition. I'll let you speak on this.
Next Level Magic basically goes it speaks to having a well-rounded approach to Magic, having an ability to play in tournaments, how to prepare, how to build decks, how to level up. Articles from each week can be great in terms of knowing the latest tech, but Next Level Magic is how to get better at Magic. It's how to even approach Magic at all, how to build a Magic team, how to build a deck, how to build a sideboard, and how to use it. And so it's a timeless piece really in terms of how to win more at Magic, and I cannot speak any higher in terms of how proud I am of how it turned out, and just for helping people level up,
Would you call this kind of like, this is a new 2015 edition, like the remastered edition?
Yeah, it's college textbooks get updated from year to year, and this is just, updated examples. But if you're looking to improve your game, whether it's at an F&M, the new pre-TQs, or even, SCG Opens and Grand Prix, I definitely recommend taking a look at Next Level Magic.
Now, I've been informed on Twitter, as we do turn our attention back to the match, that people are looking for a remastered edition of The Gathering. Looking for some new tracks that maybe you left off that you'd like to put on to the new 2015 edition. Is there any chance of that in the works?
Not saying why, but it's interesting to note, Bill Bowden's flying to Denver next month, middle of January.
I see.
I don't know what he's up to. I don't know what he's doing, but I would definitely be on the lookout early next year for a little something that people might not be expecting. We're going to go a little bit different of a direction.
Perhaps your people call his people. See if you can get a breakfast set up.
Well, it's already set up.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that we got something unusual cooking that I think people are not going to expect. But if you like The Gathering, I would definitely take a look at I keep our eyes open for next spring. Right around March, there's going to be kind of a fun announcement in that area.
Well, as Dwayne Johnson would say, I can smell what you're cooking. I can. So looking forward potentially to that as we turn our attention back to Braverman versus VanMeter here. Mardu Midrange versus Abzan Reanimator. Again, Abzan Reanimator picking up a lot after its performance in Portland last week, and in the hands of Glenn Jones and Jerry Thompson, both those players making the semifinals. Mardu Midrange, kind of, up and down, ebb and flow in our standard format. We definitely see it put up results here on the Open Series. Was not a major player last weekend in Portland or the World Championships. Did not see very much of it there, but Braverman trying to put this deck back on the map right now.
Yeah, so are we going to get you on our verse? Dude, you ever spit?
You have your people call my people. I don't have any people, so you can just call me.
All right.
And if you would like me to,
no, if you'll get,
is it spit? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't know what you do. Do you spit? Are you gonna? We got a track that needs a soulful hook. If that's your angle. Dude, I don't know. What are you coming with?
I can do a lot. I can do a lot. Whatever you need me to do.
All right.
I can find a way. You need me to do a bridge? I can do that.
Well, if you can make it to Denver, January 16th, that weekend, we can do this. I'll let you lead the track on air too. I got dude, you know what? Later this evening, I'll play a track for you. We got the beat. If you let me know if it inspires you.
Okay. Folks, we got a little something in the works here. This is exciting stuff. Braverman going to be on the play. Looks like VanMeter's going to send it back. I've never met Bill Bolden. Is he a Magic player?
He is.
Yeah? Okay.
Oh, yeah. He's hardcore. He's been playing Magic since the way back.
Jeez, all right.
Yeah, he's great. He was working on a Magic rap album before him and I even, before we even hooked up about it.
Collaboration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now I'm excited. Because now there's something in the pipeline now. I don't know what to expect. It could be, we could have a track with the Rainmaker and the Innovator. That really just, I've just been informed that they've just sold 1 million copies. That really just sells itself. Patrick and Patrick. I imagine that Mr. Sullivan has some flow.
Yeah, he's like Magic's version of the Jedi mind tricks. Or he's real grimy, hardcore hip hop.
Yeah.
If you're from, New York, but maybe not Manhattan, maybe a little bit further east, further north. That's the type of hip hop that Patrick Sullivan's going to come with.
It's about to start here for Braverman, a Temple of Malady here for VanMeter. VanMeter found a 6-card hand that he was happy enough with. He was going to keep it. You see, he does have, looks like a copy of Glare of Heresy in the grid. So we'll see what he's able to put together here for game number 2. He's going to leave the card on top. We'll go back Braverman's way. Braverman will draw a copy of Crackling Doom. You can see he's got a Doomwake Giant in his hand.
Crackling Doom is without question the reason to play Mardu.
Yes.
If you're going to Mardu, it's because there's so much power tied up in Crackling Doom.
It's a Thoughtseize, so if VanMeter wants to see what Braverman is working with. We'll see a Doomwake Giant, Crackling Doom, as we already mentioned. Well, the Hordling Outburst, and Erase, which he does have, again, 4 copies of that in his sideboard this weekend, along with a Bloodstained Mire and a Mountain. See what Chris elects to take here. Can break up the fact that Braverman wants to get something going with Hordling Outburst on turn number 3. Doomwake Giant, of course, an answer to Satyr Wayfinder and Hornet Queen tokens. Crackling Doom, a fantastic removal spell in this matchup, and Erase, well, that answers a lot of things against this Abzan deck.
Yeah, I mean, Abzan, obviously, quite a popular choice this weekend. Mardu, though, a newer, sort of version of Mardu, trying to put get a foothold in the format. Not the most popular of the 5 cons, the 5 factions, but without question, at least it's not Teamer. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. Another Erase was the draw.
Shout out to Brian Kibler.
Absolutely.
Keeping the dream alive.
Absolutely. He is trying his hardest with Savage Knuckleblade.
Doesn't even have Lifebane Zombie holding him back anymore.
Here is a Forest. And this is a Corsair Grufix. Now, of course, VanMeter knows about Erase, and he knows his creature's likely to die. Reclamation Sage is the top card. That'll be an answer to Doomwake Giant that's sitting in Braverman's hand. Braverman going to pay 1 right now via Battlefield Forge to get the Corsair off the table for good.
This is a great weekend for Erase.
I think so.
Absolutely. I mean,
4 is a lot.
4 is a lot, and I respect that. That's gangster. That is gangster.
Let's say Mark getting a sacrifice. Braverman going to fish out either a mountain or a swamp from his deck. He will go with a swamp. But, I mean, obviously, Braverman feels that Erase is going to be a big deal this weekend. And with the influx of whip decks now, it's hard to argue. There are a lot of targets for Erase.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's also that they're spread out. The fact that, like Blue-White Control shows up with Banishing Light. Abzan Midrange has Corsair of Crufix. The Blue-White Heroic decks have Aqueous Form or Ordeal of Thassa. There are actually a surprising number of targets up and down the format. The fact that the Jeskai deck took out the Mantis Riders and put in Jeskai Ascendancy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad weekend to main deck Erase.
So Curiata is going to be the play here for VanMeter. You saw Hordling Outburst in the previous turn there for Braverman. So Braverman will draw a card and pick up another copy of Erase.
Not a bad turn for Crackling Doom.
Yep. I know you want to get something juicy like a Doomwake Giant or a Siege Rhino, but when they don't play anything else.
Well, part of the problem is that if you don't Crackling Doom here, Doomwake Giant can come down next turn and actually sweep the board. But it looks like Braverman wants to hold out. He's saving that Crackling Doom for the Siege Rhino because he knows that VanMeter knows that he has the Crackling Doom.
VanMeter picking up a copy of Hero's Downfall. Already has one of those in his hand as well. And this is part of the appeal, as there's Crackling Doom, of playing a card like Hordling Outburst, because a card like Hero's Downfall is much worse than.
Absolutely, and here we see VanMeter getting punished. VanMeter misses his land drop and doesn't play a spell. Braverman says, that's enough for me to pull the trigger. Now, even if you draw a land, you're probably not gonna have anything to play.
Butcher the Horde, the draw. See if Braverman wants to cast this into 3 open mana.
Now, there's a good chance he doesn't want to because he wants to be careful. The fact that VanMeter couldn't do anything, greatly increases the chances that VanMeter has a removal spell.
Oh, looks like he is going to play it instead. I was a
Oh
little
yeah, but
surprised by
not
that.
pre-combat and
Sure.
sacrificing a dude.
Sure.
He wanted to make sure to attack first because he's not going to sacrifice a guy for the Butcher of the Horde. He wanted to see if there's any chance that VanMeter tried to Hero's Downfall a token. But VanMeter wasn't biting.
The draws and Windswept Teeth here for Chris. He'll deploy the Heath. And he may have to reluctantly cast maybe something like a Reclamation Chase, but he's just going to hold steady.
Yeah, holds out, and I don't blame him. It's interesting seeing the difference between like a Viridian Shaman and a Reclamation Sage. Being only a 2/1 makes it so much worse against these Goblin tokens.
3 more damage is going to come across. Braverman's going to play another copy of Hordeling Outburst.
Yeah, he's just all in on punishing VanMeter. He knows VanMeter didn't have an extra land last turn, so he wants to try to get the beats in while he can before Doomwake Giant comes down, because after Doomwake Giant hits, Hordeling Outburst is not going to be worth very much anyway.
And VanMeter's hand is just so awkward at this point. He's got the Hero's Downfall, he's got a Glare of Heresy, he's got a Reclamation Sage. I don't believe he has a Doomwake Giant in his hand, so now he needs to find something like a Siege Rhino to be able to try to stabilize in this board. Gonna sacrifice the Windswept Teeth and get a land out of his deck to maybe try to increase the percentage chance, ever so slightly, that he draws a copy of Siege Rhino. He's gonna dig out of Plains.
So at this point, VanMeter, not even extra land. I mean, land isn't even that good for him because his hand is so awkward.
Mm-hmm.
What are his other good draws besides Siege Rhino? Ooh,
That one.
Wow.
That's a good one. That's a Drown in Sorrow. Now he gets to Scry too. Maybe he finds a 5th land off of that or a Siege Rhino. Who knows? That was timely.
That was the perfect draw, just in time.
Yeah. Top card to the bottom. And we will head Braverman's way. Braverman will draw a copy of Thoughtseize. He will play that Thoughtseize. Here's Chris's hand. Hornet Queen, Reclamation Sage, Hero's Downfall, and Glare of Heresy.
A lot of great reactive cards. The question is, does he take the Hero's Down? I mean, sorry, the Reclamation Sage, thinking, I want to make the Doomwake Giant a little bit better, or does he take the Hornet Queen, figuring, oh, with this much defense, VanMeter's going to buy himself a lot of time. I just don't want him to hit me with the Hornet Queen.
Yeah, Braverman's hand's really awkward. He has 2 dead cards.
And so he's got here, at least Doomwake Giant could potentially beat the Hornet Queen going long.
Yep.
Interesting. So he goes with the Hero's Downfall, giving sort of a, well, I don't care about the Reclamation Sage because I'm not going to play the Doomwake Giant until I can kill your Hornet Queen's tokens. And they're both settling in for a long game.
If VanMeter just draws and discards, Braverman just drew a Thoughtseize. He's going to cast it, so we'll see what the new card is. It's another copy of Hornet Queen. So now Reclamation Sage is going to bite the dust. So now the path actually is pretty clear for Doomwake Giants. VanMeter will draw a card. It's a copy of Sylvan Caryatid, so we'll deploy that and simply pass the turn back.
Yeah, this is a great time for Braverman to get a land. Goblin Ravelmaster, that's a huge play.
That's not bad at all.
Absolutely, that's big.
That's going to come in, trigger, make a Goblin token. That'll come in. Of course, VanMeter will block with his Caryatid before passing the turn back. VanMeter will draw a card. Removal spell would be big for him. He doesn't find one. It's a copy of Windswept Teeth.
He is only 1 land away from Hornet Queen at this point, though. And so even though Braverman has the Doomwake Giant in hand, first of all, he doesn't have an answer to 2 queens because he doesn't have another enchantment yet. But second of all, he hasn't even gotten up to 5 mana. Looks like he did rip a chain, though. So if he can get his 5th mana, he's going to be in pretty good shape against the Hornet Queen.
Here's the attacks. Bravermaster on this board is a 4-power creature. VanMeter has to block over there, so he'll take 5. He's going to go down to 2.
Absolutely. Now VanMeter is praying for a land.
Draws a card. Well, he got one.
Should have asked for the untapped land.
Phillip Braverman is going to win game number 2 here over Chris VanMeter. Mardu Midrange and Abzan Reanimator are tied up as they get ready for game number 3. We took a look at the sideboards already, but we know that Braverman has brought in at least 3 copies of Erase. And we saw 2 copies of Thoughtseize as well from his sideboard. Don't know if we'll see Magma Spray, additional Arc Lightnings. He already had 1 in his main deck, 3 in his board. And then he's got 2 Doomwakes in his main and 2 Doomwakes in his board. Don't know if much changes between play and draw here.
Yeah, no, I think that he's going to mostly just stick with the Thoughtseizes and the Erases. It worked this game, and I think you want to do more of the same, like if you just come out with a good mix of cards and the game doesn't go too long, that game, everything was working correctly, He didn't have some insane draw or anything, but everything was working the way it's supposed to, and he got his little bit of edges. VanMeter stumbled a little bit on mana, and Braverman went for the throat. crackling, dooming the Sylvan Caryatid, making sure that VanMeter couldn't get back in it.
Players will shuffle up for game number 3. It'll be underway in just a moment. We will talk very quickly about the newest addition to our Creature Collection series. It is the Ooze token, now available. If you come to any Open Series event or head over to StarCityGames.com, you'll find the deck box, the dice bag, the play mat, the sleeves as well, and of course, any website order over $5, especially during this holiday season, we'll be giving away 2 of these Star Ooze tokens. So head over to Star City Games or any Open Series event here at the beginning of 2015 to be able to pick these up. And from what I've heard through the grapevine, we will have new additions to the Creature Collection series for 2015.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know what, but from what I've heard from some people in the know, we're going to have some new fun ones for you guys in 2015.
Yeah. This weekend, I mean, there's been a lot of, welcoming new additions to the family. And I wonder who else could be being welcomed to a family this weekend.
Not sure.
Unrelated, but we got to get Tom Ross in the booth at some point this weekend.
We'll see what we can do. He's off to a little bit of a rocky start.
Yeah, he's just trying to make it interesting. He's going to bust out. I heard a rumor he might be willing to infect in Legacy. You don't know?
Are you sure?
No, not really.
Okay.
I said he might.
Yeah,
He might not. He might instead just want to win.
We're going to have to find out what he's up to. I think he played, importantly, he didn't infect. He gave Jerry the infect deck. I can't remember what he played, though. He played something different from us.
And he got punished.
He did. He did.
Generally, his expectation is first in these. So
yeah. And he's been living up to expectation recently.
How many opens and invitationals combined has he won?
Opens, I know that he won one like at the very beginning of the Open Series, like 2011. Like I think when we were in Louisiana or somewhere around that area, maybe Phoenix. I remember that pretty well. As far as invitational is concerned, he's won the past 2, has top 8'd all 3 this year. So he's looking to top 4 all 4.
He's got to be in the running for one of the most likely to ever be the first player to get the Grand Slam.
Yes.
If anybody ever gets the Grand Slam, that's going to be quite the feat.
That's
winning
really
all
something.
4 invitationals in 1 year. That would be.
If he wins all 4, it'd be insane. I think if you top 8 all 4, that's insane.
I'm talking the true Grand Slam.
Well, he's got 2. So he's got to get 2 more.
Kai won 4 Pro Tours in a year. Tom Ross can win 4 invitationals. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is silly.
In a calendar.
Yeah. No. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's silly.
That's one of the coldest who ever did it.
Okay, which accomplishment's better? You can choose not to answer if you want, but
being president of the United
not
States.
That. No, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
Kai's magic accomplishments. Kai's not close.
4 Pro Tours in a calendar year.
Winning 4 in a calendar year.
Yeah. Or back-to-back world champion like Shahar is right now.
4 Pro Tours in a year.
4 Pro Tours in a year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, without question. I mean, don't get me wrong. Shahar's accomplishment, not to take anything away with it, that's going down in the history books. That's a huge one. That's massive. First time ever, a 2-time champ, and to do it back-to-back. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. But it is very probable that we will never in our lifetimes see somebody else win 4 Pro Tours in a calendar year.
I would be surprised.
That is unbelievable. Whereas it is possible that we will have another back-to-back champion at some point in our lifetimes. I mean, hell, Shahar might do it again next year.
It's true. It's true. Sylvan Caryatid's going to start things off here for VanMeter. Braverman. After a Temple of Triumph, you see he's got a second land. It looks like it's going to be another copy of Temple of Triumph. Take a look at the top card.
Wish we had a sample of like the Wu-Tang Clan to play every time somebody played a Temple of Triumph. You know what I mean?
I'll have to get them on that.
Yeah.
They're slacking over there. He's thinking long and hard about this one. You see the Chain of the Rocks in hand.
He doesn't have access to black mana, though, right?
Yeah, I don't see any black mana there either. I see some red cards over there. I've got the Battlefield Forge, the Crackling Doom, but I don't see black mana as he puts a card to the bottom. And he'll just pass the turn back over to VanMeter. So VanMeter could run away with this one pretty quickly if he has something like a Siege Rhino here.
But Braverman does have a Rival Master, right?
Yes.
So at least he can put his eggs in that basket and hope VanMeter doesn't have a removal spell.
VanMeter tapping some mana right now, 3 of it.
Read the Bones is exactly what Braverman would like VanMeter to be doing. Outside of nothing, at least VanMeter isn't developing the board.
Now, you're a big Read the Bones guy.
Absolutely. Read the Bones is my second favorite read right now.
Your first being?
The Duke.
Ah, yes.
Read the Duke. Yeah. Read the Bones is an underrated card that I think if you just look at the way these games play out, it's totally fine main deck anyway, but it gets better. Even if it was in your main deck, it gets better after sideboarding because of how much interaction everybody has in their sideboard. Everybody's sideboard are so good, and there's so many answers to so many of the things that the people are doing. Read the Bones, so great for the attrition battles.
There's Rebel Master. It's going to come in with the Goblin token. Into the red zone it comes. VanMeter's going to go down a little bit lower to 16. He will untap. It's time to draw a card. You see he's got Nutter in his hand, among other things. He'll start by playing Sandstep Citadel. And it looks like he does have quite a few removal spells. He also has a Siege Rhino there as well. So see if he wants to go with an expensive removal spell like Utter End or deploy the Rhino. And it looks like he's going to leave the mana up for some sort of removal spell here to get Rebel Master off the table.
Yeah, it's just such a losing proposition. If he plays the Rhino, that's so greedy because Braverman has so many ways, whether it's Chain to the Rocks or Crackling Doom, so many ways to kill the Rhino and then just get way ahead, because if you ever get hit by a Rebel Master, you're in bad shape.
Well, there's the second one. So that's going to come into play. No, not in the attack step just yet, as I have a feeling VanMeter's going to want to kill one of these things.
Yeah, but he is slipping further behind.
He's going to go with the Hero's Downfall, take care of the initial one. So no Goblin token there. At least we don't think so. Depends on the verbiage. Yep, and it'll just be one of them. VanMeter will block one. One will come through. It'll go down to 15. There's another Temple of Triumph. See if Braverman can find some black mana here with the Scry. That card's going to go to the bottom.
Enough.
Yeah. We're going to head back VanMeter's way.
VanMeter needs a Drown in Sorrow type effect. That would be just absolutely fantastic for him. But even Doomwake Giant would be great.
Temple of Triumph going to come on. Or excuse me, Temple of Malady going to come on in.
Yeah, you can tell it's Temple of Malady because the Wu-Tang Clan is not playing in the background.
Ah, yes, yes. He's going to leave that card on top before passing the turn back.
It's not a good sign for Braverman.
Yeah. Braverman will draw. It's a Butcher of the Horde.
Wow, Butcher of the Horde's great.
Yeah, no black mana's not, though. That's the problem. Still here for Phillip. Also, doesn't have a mountain for the Chain of the Rocks. Not that Chain of the Rocks plays a role in this game yet, but...
Interesting.
Hero's Downfall going to take care of Rebel Master. Carry added, ready to block yet again.
At least Swirling Outburst is going to keep the offense going. The thing that Braverman's going to be, sweating a little bit is what would VanMeter have put on top of his deck and kept in this scenario? Because the bar is going to be kind of high.
One thing you could pick up, too, with Chris, with the Scry, is he put that card on top pretty fast.
Yeah.
He was pretty happy to be drawing whatever this is, and we're going to find out what it is, I think, in just a moment. It's a copy of Courser of Crewfix.
Okay. Courser of Crewfix helping stabilize the board as a blocker, gaining some extra life, and drawing him some extra cards so that he can get up to playing 2 cards in the same turn.
Take a look at the top card, Sylvan Carry added. So no land there.
Now he does have access to Hero's Downfall this turn, so even if Braverman draws a black mana, VanMeter has a little bit of defense against Butcher of the Horde.
Stoke the Flames. Going to take care of the Courser. Carry out, be turned face down. That'll be VanMeter's draw the next turn. Braverman going to untap 5 Goblin tokens. Draw a card. It's a Mountain. Still no black mana here for Michael. Mountain important, though, for Chain of the Rocks.
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to draw a non-black mana, Mountain is as good as it gets.
In here for 5. We'll make it 4 as VanMeter will block one of those Goblin tokens. Braverman will play the Mountain. And just pass the turn back over to VanMeter.
VanMeter hoping to get a Hornet Queen or a Doomwake Giant pretty soon.
Yep. We all know Sylvan Carriata is going to be the draw there, so he's able to draw that card. He still has a Siege Rhino that he has not deployed yet.
What's interesting is that if Braverman chains to the rocks the Siege Rhino, VanMeter can at instant speed Utter End to break it free from the rocks and trigger again. But he chooses not to play the Rhino again.
A little surprised by that, not playing it that turn. There's the draw this turn was a Thoughtseize. Here's an attack with 5 of the Goblin tokens. So Braverman has a lot of great cards in his hand. Thoughtseize, Crackling Doom, Butcher of the Horde, Doomwake Giant. No black mana to cast them.
VanMeter again holding up Hero's Downfall, but he can't use it this turn.
Yep.
So this is a very, I guess he could use it. This is a very defensive line. Perhaps he's just like, I just don't want to lose to a Butcher of the Horde out of nowhere. Surprisingly conservative line.
I mean, conservative all the way, though. So he's, is he supposed to shift roles? Hard to say, but he's been on the same pathway the entire game, which is being very conservative and leaving Hero's Downfall open.
Absolutely. He apparently is confident that he can that he will play around the the possibility of a Butcher of the Horde.
Take a draw. Another copy of Reclamation Sage.
Yeah, it's interesting. All these Reclamation Sages make the Chain to the Rocks a real liability.
There's the Rhino. That's going to come in. VanMeter's going to go back up to 10. Braverman's going to go down to 17. Still with the ability to cast Hero's Downfall. We'll go back Phillip's way. Phillip will draw a card. Is it black mana yet? Nope. Wingmate Rock. Not bad, though.
No. Now, what's interesting, though, is that he can't Wingmate Rock and Chain to the Rocks. He's probably going to want to Wingmate Rock anyway, but that'll actually work out better for him because it means that he won't walk face first into the Reclamation Sage.
So some blocking will take place here.
So that was a really big draw as far as non-swamp draws go.
Wingmate Rock's going to come in along with the 3/4 White Bird token.
This puts a lot of pressure on VanMeter. He doesn't have a ton of answers to flyers.
He's got to fire off spot removal spells now.
And he chose not to use the Hero's Downfall on the end step.
That was a little surprising to me.
Wants to keep his options open, I guess. He does have the ability to play both Hero's Downfall and Utter End here, but by waiting, it means that he has to either tap his Sylvan Caryatids pre-combat, meaning they can't block the tokens, or he has to let Braverman gain a bunch of life from the Wingmate Rock.
Yep.
I guess he can downfall one pre-attackers. So
Yeah, depending on what Braverman does.
yeah, depending on what Braverman does, VanMeter can actually thwart most of this attack, but he's still looking to take a couple damage.
Crackling Doom was a draw, and now I'm going to the deck. Let's see. Okay, how much black mana does he actually have? 4 Nomad Outpost, 4 Bloodstained Mire. That's 8. 2 Temple of Silence is 10. 2 Caves of Koilos is 11 and 12, and 1 Swamp as well is 13. So it's quite a few sources of black mana.
So Braverman does exile the Rhino for now. However, VanMeter can get it back at instant speed with Utter End if he so chooses.
Hero's Downfall is going to take care of the actual Wingmate Rock, so the bird's still in play. Here's the attack.
So now what do you think? Does he... Oh, okay. He does decide to Utter End the Rock instead of the Rhino. He's like, I'm under too much pressure. I got to just...
I'm okay with that.
Get Will the Getting's good.
And now he can Rex Sage. You know, he can Rex Sage the chain.
Absolutely.
Get his Rhino back.
The problem, though, is that if Braverman ever draws a Swamp, his hand is very strong.
So there that goes. However, VanMeter's draw was very, very good this turn. He's going to trigger the Rhino, go up to 9. Braverman's going to go down to 14. And now he's going to play a Doomway Giant.
Wow. Wow, that's going to remove a lot of Braverman's play. That was really a strong draw.
He needs to draw black mana now. Rebel Master is not it.
No.
I think that was the window. I think the window may be shut on now, drawing black mana.
I mean, at least Crackling Doom is very effective.
Yeah?
So, I mean, I don't think he's got much more time, though. This is going to have to be, like, literally next turn, I think, is the last turn where it's even competitive. It's going to be even tough if he draws a Swamp next turn, but at least next turn he'll still have chances.
VanMeter draws his card for the turn. We know there's a Reclamation Sage over there. It looks like his draw was a land. But I think if you're Chris, you got to maybe start working your way into the red zone. Now you want to try to get this game over as fast as you can.
Absolutely. He knows the Braverman's hand has just got to be deep with powerful black cards.
You know, there's this small world that exists where maybe there's inner hostilities hanging out over there, but I think, you know, he would have cast it last turn if he had it. Maybe there's one in his deck that he could draw to, but we know that there's not. So that's not something that Chris needs to worry about if he was working with perfect information. That said, I do have interest to see how exactly he wants to attack and what he's going to try to play around here. Because from our vantage point, it's pretty easy, right? You just say, Doomway Giant, Siege Rhino, Reclamation Sage, get in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely. But the question is there any profit in staying home? Because then he can both eat the token and threaten to kill the Rabble Master. He decides to be conservative again. He's played this whole match, this whole game very conservatively.
So here's an attack for 6. And Braverman's going to take the 6. He's going to go down to 8. VanMeter's just going to pass the turn back. Well, Phillip, you might have a little more time to draw that black mana. What is this card? It's a Caves of Koilos.
Interesting. That's black.
Finally.
It's a painful way to do it, but that is black mana. Now, what's interesting is that if he leads with the Crackling Doom, VanMeter has to sacrifice the Doomwake Giant, or else the Siege Rhino, well, you know, the Siege Rhino he's counting on to block right now.
Looks like he's coming out with Butcher of the Horde.
All right.
And of course, he can just sacrifice the Goblin.
And this puts VanMeter on a 1-turn clock. The Rabblemaster can threaten to chump block the Doomwig Giant, so at least Braverman beats the board. A smart line.
Yep.
This is giving him good chances. I mean, VanMeter's back is against the wall now. He waited so long on that. Waited so long on the utter end and the Hero's Downfalls.
He's going to sacrifice this for lifelink.
Interesting. Oh, wow, because he figures, oh, I can't count on this, you know, I don't want to have to count on this as a blocker.
Sure, because if there's a removal spell.
Well, plus, if he chump blocks, he only prevents 4 damage. If it's lifelink, he gains 5.
Yep, okay. Makes sense. So now Chris needs, all of a sudden, Chris needs a removal spell now.
Wow. Well played by Braverman, giving himself the absolute best chance.
Courser of Crewfigs.
That's 1 life short.
Yeah, he's at 4. Plays on land, goes to 5. That's not going to do it.
Playing conservative cost him. That extra 4 damage would have been big.
Yeah.
4 damage would have had Braverman at 8, meaning that this attack would be lethal.
And Braverman couldn't make, Braverman probably couldn't make the play that he made last turn. It definitely contorts the way that he would play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to sit down with Chris and see what the thought process was behind not attacking with the Siege Rhino, because clearly, I mean, he thought about his turn how he wanted to attack. You know, he moved the Siege Rhino around. He's like, maybe I'll attack with this in the Reclamation stage. Maybe I'll do it with the Doomwig Giant. Maybe yes, maybe no. Finally came to the conclusion he didn't want to attack. There's Braverman kind of taunting him now, as that would be the perfect card to have drawn this turn. But now he's going to wind up short. Here's the attack.
Knocking Braverman to 2 instead of -2.
Chris can play the land, go up to 5.
The problem, of course, is that even if he could live through this Butcher attack, the Crackling Doom.
Yep.
Wow. Nice work by Braverman. What an impressive comeback.
It took him forever to draw black mana, but I feel like he did as much as he could reasonably do to try to win this game. Black mana came on the actual last turn it could show up.
Yeah, we mentioned that was the last chance for there to even be a shot.
Yeah, Chris will show him Reclamation Stage, and that's going to do it. Phillip Braverman's going to win this match over Chris VanMeter 2-1. And for Braverman with Mardu mid-range, he's going to move on to 3-1 here, while VanMeter, off of his 2 buys, he goes 0-2 in the standard portion.
Wow. Wow, what an intense match. Butcher the Horde. Butcher the Horde, a very powerful card.
5 is a lot.
5 is a lot. And a 5/4 flyer for 4 mana is already respectable. Like,
yeah,
at least that's interesting.
That's already a good deal.
But then the interaction with things like Hordeling Outbreak